Welcome to Is Not Top Scallop. From Austin, Texas, I'm Johnny.
And I'm Christy from Baltimore, Maryland. And this is a conversation about Top Chef.
Indeed. Welcome back, Scallops. We are ready to go. Episode 3, season 22. Still good. This week.
Really good.
Yeah, it's really good. This week we are raw dogging the ice. This week we are raw dogging the dry ice and suffering performance issues with Massimo.
I loved it.
Yeah, it was actually a genuinely good episode. Look, straight up, I could have predicted this. I sort of maybe did I predict it? Am I saying that, backfilling it? But I must be the only person in the community of Top Chef audience that actually was anti-Anya, because it seems like the sentiment online was like sad to see her go. She was really innovative and different. For me, I thought she was really one-dimensional and focused on like cooking quote-unquote Russian stuff with ingredients that she brought from home rather than rising to the challenge. She's gone. Okay, sad. Mate.
You know, after this week, I kind of agree with you.
Really? Yeah, you've gone around?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm sure we'll get to it when we get to the actual dishes, but like the same thing, I just don't think she really rose to the spirit of the challenge.
She was more focused on showing off the Russian culture.
Right. The pine nut ice cream. Okay, well, pine and needle ice cream or whatever. Cool. Like,
which could have been good.
Should have been good.
You know, yeah.
But even Tom, what's his name? Or not Tom, Tim, Jason, whatever, the editor from Food and Wine, whatever his name is. Yeah, he says it. He sums it up at the end. He's like, maybe you got focused on highlighting your cultural dishes instead of actually, doing the work. And that's what I think happened. But again, the sentiment across the board, Reddit and various other folks seem really sad to see her go. But I guess that's the way it is, right?
Yeah.
On the converse, I'm stoked. I loved Katiana's story. I mentioned this already. I think she has she's got the chops of the Michelin star experience. She's got the Korean heritage, which she's only just discovered sort of vibe. Yeah, I feel like she underperformed those first 2 episodes. I really was expecting more from her. And I think this episode, really, she's obviously doing good. So she's around for at least one more episode.
Yes. But while on the one hand, Anya was all about Russia, I'm Russian, I'm from Russia, here's Russian food. Katiana is getting into the box of I'm adopted and I'm cooking Korean food. I'm learning about my Korean heritage, and that's kind of what they're focusing on with her.
Right.
And I know a lot of it is just editing.
Of course. And we may end up with she might end up going down that exact same path. I get the picture though that what the difference between her and Anya, and I'm going to lump Zubair into this a little bit too, because I feel like I'm getting the vibe that maybe Zubair has a list of dishes that he wants to cook.
Yeah, sometimes they do that.
And it's not like he's set himself up ready to do Top Chef. He's set himself up ready to cook the things that he cooks the best and kind of engineer them into Top Chef challenges.
Which is not always the best way to make it happen.
I mean, it might get you through 4 episodes.
Yeah. But, sometimes chefs will come on and they're like, I'm not going to make anything that I've made before. I'm here to, work with the challenge and make new stuff. And that's really exciting when they do that. It is a little bit less exciting when they're like, these are some dishes that I know I can do well, that I know are always well received, and I'm going to find a way to shove this square peg into a round hole.
Yeah, I mean, I think we definitely have had that a few times, I would say quite a bit in the last few seasons. One from Wisconsin springs to mind. It was that guy Manny. He's like, there was dish, and he was just like, I've been looking for an opportunity to make this dish, and it's like, right, but it doesn't actually suit the challenge for shit, which is cool. It's totally cool. But if someone else, you run the risk there is that okay, maybe you make the most insane dish that's tangentially related to the challenge and it's fucking great. And everyone's like, oh my God, this isn't even close to the challenge, but you win because it's the best thing I've ever put in my face hole. But you run the risk that if someone else is closer to the challenge and does a pretty good job, then the thing that you've prepared from your life outside of Top Chef all is for naught almost. And that's the thing. And again, I feel like Zubair needs to kind of, again, maybe just because he had immunity and he got the fucking muffins. I think the elimination challenge was both really great and really frustrating. And again, we'll get there once we get to the elimination challenge. But yeah, look, I think, I'm still getting the good season vibes. There's enough talent and difference and coolness and character in the mix. The challenges still seem pretty interesting. As again, I've got some comments about this one, but whatever. I felt a bit scared for Shuai because when we open it up, the show he gets I miss my family, I miss my wife, I miss my dogs. And that's usually a foreshadowing for, well, bitch, you won't have long to worry about that because you are going to meet them. So I'm kind of glad that didn't happen to him because I like Shuai. I think he's got, he's
the talented chef.
Yeah. I feel like he's the one, he's definitely got the vibes of I can do a bunch of things. I have a bunch of skills. I've prepped a bunch of stuff, but I'm ready to apply it to the Top Chef scenario.
Yes. So yeah, you're right. He does have certain things that he's like, I know I'm good at making this, so I'm going to make this, but it's appropriate.
Right. It doesn't seem like it's square pegged in the round hole.
Exactly. Yes.
And, and again, his quickfire dish is that. It is the perfect example of that, of doing the scallion pancake in the curry puffle. But
yeah,
it seems like also gone.
I was going to say, so yeah, let's talk about the quickfire.
Let's rip in. Yeah. Jamaican patties. Do you fuck with these? Do you know what these are?
I have not had those before, but I've had like empanadas and, pies. Pretty much every culture has a pie and like a hand pie of some kind, or just kind of like every culture has some kind of dumpling, so, yeah, I've definitely had empanadas before, but yeah.
They're a bit different. There's like the Jamaican patty. Again, I don't know what it's like in America really, but I lived in London for a little while and these guys are, you find these all over the shop and it's a pasty, it's a hand pie, it's a folded dough, it's an empanada. They usually put some sort of curry in it to give it that color and some kind of unique taste. I feel like the empanada can end up being a little flakier. Sometimes the Jamaican patty can be a little chewier and denser than like a really flaky empanada or an Aussie pie. An Australian meat pie has like a flaky pastry top and then a different pastry case.
Interesting.
Which is a thing. Is another thing called an Australian sausage roll, which is like sausage meat wrapped in a cylinder of pastry, which is one of my own personal specialties.
Yeah, that's like a British dish as well.
I mean, it would be an Australian dish. But yeah, sure. They're in Toronto and you're walking around and you see a shop that's selling these funny yellow pastries. Are you going, fuck, let's go there. Let's try this thing.
I might, I'm always up for new kinds of foods. The empanadas that I normally get, Baltimore has a really great farmer's market every Sunday from like April through December. And there's all these, different places where you can get, food made right there. You can also buy like your veggies for the week. You can buy plants. You can it's huge. And it's a really cool market.
And there's an empanada spot there?
Yes.
Sick. Yeah, so I like it. I mean, it's cool. They have a kind of do whatever the fuck you want sort of quickfire, which I always like.
Yes.
They have a lot of options, so they deliver a lot of options. It's an interesting challenge because they have 15 minutes to make the dough, but it's a sort of low-key two-part quickfire, right? They have 15 minutes to make the dough and they've got to make good dough. It's like, it's a laminated dough challenge almost more than it is make a Jamaica patty challenge.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that Shuai was very smart to do just the scallion pancake. And he was able to do it quickly enough that he was able to get his chicken in the braise.
Made the same side, exactly the same.
Excellent use of his time.
Yep. Real smart.
I couldn't believe that Henry was pounding the butter flat. I'm like, are you trying to make a full puff pastry in 15 minutes?
Yeah.
Because that's not fucking possible.
Bro, if you're trying to do a croissant, this is not the right move. But that said, his empanada, or with patty or whatever we're calling it, patty is what we should be calling it. His patty comes out beautifully crisp and flaky and puffy looking. So maybe he did the right thing. It's mid, but seems also like Shuai brought this scallion pancake to the table. Like he can already do this. He loves making it. This is one of the things you mentioned. He's like, he's got a hell of a, I can do this. So I'm just going to repurpose this dough for a different challenge, which I love.
And it makes a hell of a lot more sense than it did when Henry used it in the poutine challenge.
Yes, mate. 100%.
So
100% correct.
That was the square peg in a round hole again.
Yeah.
But Shuai brought it to the table when it was appropriate.
And it's kind of the same with Zuby. Zuby sets that up. He's on the like, if you make a round roti, you're ready for marriage. Well, my roti's so round that my wife makes the money so I can afford to run a restaurant kind of roti, which is great. Like, you've already got that on the table. Cool.
Yeah, he's like, my wife is in tech. I'm like, yeah, she thought that she was marrying someone. With a banker, yeah. And then you're like, fuck this. I'm going to go be a chef. And
yeah.
So now
you're in Toronto and you're walking around and you see a shop that's selling these funny yellow pastries. Are you going, fuck, let's go there. Let's try this thing.
I might, I'm always up for new kinds of foods. The empanadas that I normally get, Baltimore has a really great farmer's market every Sunday from like April through December. And there's all these, different places where you can get, food made right there. You can also buy like your veggies for the week. You can buy plants. You can it's huge. And it's a really cool market.
And there's an empanada spot there?
Yes.
Sick. Yeah, so I like it. I mean, it's cool. They have a kind of do whatever the fuck you want sort of quickfire, which I always like.
Yes.
They have a lot of options, so they deliver a lot of options. It's an interesting challenge because they have 15 minutes to make the dough, but it's a sort of low-key two-part quickfire. Mm-hmm. They have 15 minutes to make the dough, and they've got to make good dough. It's like, it's a laminated dough challenge almost more than it is make a Jamaican patty challenge.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that Shuai was very smart to do the scallion pancake. And he was able to do it quickly enough that he was able to get his chicken in the braise.
Made the same.
Excellent use of his time.
Yep, real smart.
I couldn't believe that Henry was pounding the butter flat. I'm like, are you trying to make a full puff pastry in 15 minutes?
Yeah.
Because that's not fucking possible.
Bro, if you're trying to do a croissant, this is not the right move. But that said, his empanada or his patty or whatever we're calling it, patty is what we should be calling it. His patty comes out beautifully crisp and flaky and puffy looking. So maybe he did the right thing. It's mid, but seems also like Shuai brought this scallion pancake to the table. Like, he can already do this. He loves making it. This is one of the things you mentioned. He's like, he's got a hell of a, I can do this. So I'm just going to repurpose this dough for a different challenge, which I love.
And it makes a hell of a lot more sense than it did when Henry used it in the poutine challenge.
Yes, man. 100%.
So
100% correct.
That was the square peg in a round hole again.
Yeah.
But Shuai brought it to the table when it was appropriate.
And it's kind of the same with Zuby. Zuby sets that up. He's on the like, if you make a round roti, you're ready for marriage. Well, my roti's so round that my wife makes the money so I can afford to run a restaurant kind of roti, which is great. Like, you've already got that on the table. Cool.
Yeah, he's like, my wife is in tech. I'm like, yeah, she thought that she was marrying someone who, was a banker. Yeah. And then you're like, fuck this. I'm going to go be a chef. And
yeah.
So now
scallion pancake hand pie. I think this was the best looking.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, you got the bird, the way they closed up on it. And you got like, you could see that crisped up scallion rings and the flame almost had like a Thai curry puff sort of texture to it. You could tell that you bite into it and it probably covers you in a shower of crumbs and like, I'm almost bummed that he didn't win this. Yeah, almost bummed that he didn't win it. But I think obviously the sweet potato kimchi thing came out because, like you said, he has time to put his chicken in the pressure cooker, and that is going to mean that that chicken curry is, I bet you, it's fucking super. So
if Massimo had time to put his oxtail in a pressure cooker or something, that might have made all the difference for him.
So realistically, he could have done that if he had done a similar style, like you say, Shuai is like it's a dough I don't have to rest. Sick. So you can use that 15 minutes to put something on, which means you actually can use, instead of having 30 minutes to do the quick fire, you have 90 minutes to do the quick fire. Game changer. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, I feel like Shuai definitely won. Right now, we're getting the shakeout, at least at the top. I feel like Zubair, definitely, he's obviously good. So he's obviously on the top. Shuai, he's obviously good and he's obviously creative. And so he's on the top. Like I said, I feel like Katiana deserves to be there. So she's there. Great. The rest of the quickfire challenge, let's start the conversation about the middle ground with old boy Corwin. You're Jamaican. The show edit. He's got a layup. He's like, I eat beef patties every day.
And then he didn't get in the top. Oops.
And it's sure, like, he did the 3-spice dough with curry chickpeas. It must have been dull because it could have been great.
Yeah, I mean, I make a vegan chickpea curry recipe that is awesome. I mean, I don't know. Maybe the other 3 were just that good. I don't know. I also really liked Tristan's, the after-school beef patty.
Yep.
And he's like, I was a latchkey kid.
Yep. It was creative. It was the only one that didn't do he did the cut, like the little.
Yeah.
Tartlet.
I was like, does that?
I mean, it's hard to know without knowing the specific rules, but you would think the Jamaican patty, one of the things that makes it special is that it is a hand pie. It can be eaten, no sides, no nothing, just in your hand, which is what an empanada, a sausage roll, a Cornish pasty, a Aussie.
I mean, a small tart can be that way too, I guess, if the crust is
for sure.
Crust is sturdy enough.
I'm not trying to.
But I love the ketchup vinaigrette.
Boom.
It's such like a kid thing, but he elevated it.
Yeah, and it speaks to. It sort of spoke to the thing, and I feel like maybe it was underappreciated. Or maybe just undersold. But to me, the idea of, so I made a ketchup vinaigrette because I would have eaten this with ketchup as a 9-year-old.
Yeah.
But I'm a Michelin star chef. So I'm like referencing rather than being literal. But I like him. I think he's got legs. He seems like a cool guy. He's got a pretty good sense of humor. He makes pretty good food. So, yep.
Speaking of sense of humor, Vinny and his puns is not great.
He's a serial killer. That's what the vibe is. He's like kind of hard to fault. He's like sort of trying to be funny and he's trying to be nice. But the chopped cheese idea is good. I didn't realize. I thought
that was definitely
like a Midwest thing, right?
No, I think that's like a New York bodega kind of situation, which I was a little bit surprised that Dwight Smith had never heard of chopped cheese, because he's like, well, is it just cheese in there? And clearly you don't know what a chopped cheese is, and that's fine. You don't have to know everything. But I was a little bit surprised by that.
I didn't know what it was until that is not something I had ever seen nor heard of in Australia or outside of the USA until not even when I first came here. There's a bar. I guess they are like a East Coast kind of theme sort of bar, and they do a chopped cheese. I was like, I don't know what that is. And my buddy's like, it's kind of like a hamburger, but it's not.
Yeah.
Okay. It's kind of like a sloppy Joe and a hamburger. Neither of those two things. I was like, okay, this is interesting. And I really like, again, it's one of those stupid, simple things that when it's good, it's really great. Even Dwight Smith is like, thank you very much.
Yeah. But the one thing though, he just grabs bottles of hot sauce and puts it on. And I'm like, dude, everybody else made a sauce.
Like, come on, man. At that point, empty a bottle of Tabasco into a dish and add some fucking sliced carrots or something. You know what I mean? Don't just dump the Tabasco bottle on there and be like, oh, cop out, I made it with a hot sauce. It's like, well, you didn't make it with a hot sauce. You just repurposed someone else's famous hot sauce. So, yeah, I feel like that's definitely, he doesn't deserve to be on the top for that hot sauce, for the Tabasco.
Yeah, that alone kind of blew me away. I'm like, really? You really just did that? Another thing I want to talk about in the quick fire, I love that Kristen was like, I picked a bad day to wear a corset or something. Like, you're the host of Top Chef. You're going to be eating a lot every single challenge. So, yeah, I don't know if her wardrobe people were thinking clearly when they decided to put her in a corset.
At least it wasn't the poutine day. That would have been fucking wretched.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's about it. To round off, the only other one I'm personally disappointed with is Paula. The only one I'm disappointed with mostly, let me start again. The one that I am the most disappointed with actually is Paula, because she makes a fucking lamb empanada that looks like an empanada. She's even got the little twist up at the seam.
Mm-hmm.
And that ají casero, that sauce, I've had the Colombian version of that in Colombia. It's so good. And what she made, it should have been perfect. Like,
yeah,
can taste that in my mind. And what I'm tasting is definitely a quickfire winning taste, but she didn't. And and for the rest of the episode, she's kind of been a bit disappointed. Like, she's got the vibe where she should be interesting and good. But
I don't think she's going to be around a whole lot longer.
I do not disagree with you, mate. I think too many things that were just, mistranslated or misunderstood.
And that sucks because I loved the idea of learning about Ecuadorian food and culture through her. And now I don't think that that's going to happen.
Roger. Cool.
I also wanted to note one little thing. I had to Google a word that Corwin used. Diaspora?
Diaspora, yep.
Yeah, it means people who have spread or been dispersed from their homeland.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was just kind of cool. I was like, what does that word mean?
The Jamaican diaspora. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of, I learned something today.
Oh, mate, I love it. I love it when a show like Top Chef is educative as well as entertaining.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Great. Yeah, again, so all up, what do you feel about this? This is season 3. This is our third quickfire. Are we pushing the chefs? Is there anyone that we're like, this is great. These people are really right. Like, what's your sort of overall take on this third quickfire and how it relates to the rest of the season?
Yeah, I think that we're going to see a lot of good things from Shuai and Tatiana. I think Lana still has more to show us.
Yes.
I think Massimo had a bad week.
Yes.
But I think
Massimo is not as bad as the week that he has had.
Exactly. I think that he has a whole lot more to show us. Zubair sounds like he's really got it together, but I do kind of wonder how long he'll last if all he's doing is dishes that he already knows.
And I mean, because in a way, it feels like he might be doing the same thing as Anya. He's just a little bit more layered, nuanced, and interesting. Like, Anya really it felt to me like she's trying to make every dish, she's trying to shoehorn all of the challenges into a thing that she wants to cook.
Yeah.
And I feel like Zubair is kind of doing the same thing. It's just what he's doing is a little bit more out there, a little bit more fusiony, and a little bit more inventive. Whereas to me, Anya has basically just been like, well, here's the stuff that I brought from home. I'm just going to use it.
Yeah. I'm Russian. I brought Russian things. I'm going to make Russian food.
You're going to eat Russian food.
Yeah.
Cool. So I guess this is still part of the Canadiana thing, the Jamaican patty. Apparently it's a thing in Toronto. Cool.
You know what else I noticed? For the first time, I didn't realize it. When they walk in the doors to the kitchen, they've got that big maple leaf behind them. It's lined with bottles of maple syrup. I didn't realize that until this episode.
Well, is it? Or is it just different brown liquid?
I see it and think maple syrup. I mean, it could be bourbon,
Could be bourbon, could be cheap.
But that doesn't make sense for Canada. That makes sense for Kentucky.
Yeah, it'd be more likely Crown Royals, right?
I guess. I don't
know. Yeah, it's cool. I do like it, though. It's a good set. It is a really good set, for sure.
Yeah.
Cool. So let's wheel off David, Dwight, Smith, whatever, are not one of those situations where we have the quickfire guy coming all the way through. So that's fine. Bye-bye.
They're like, oh, you can go. No, we're going to bring in the professional hockey player.
Tall professional hockey player Natalie Spooner, who appears to be dressed in a vinyl couch cushion from 1978.
That looks so uncomfortable.
So uncomfortable. And she's an attractive lady, certainly in my opinion. And she is dressed wow. Like, yeah, not in the like, wow, good way, but like, yeah.
Yeah, it does kind of remind me of like the vinyl in the seats of one of the old cars that we had when I was a kid.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. We used to go stay at this beach side place called Fingal Bay years ago. The little apartments that you would rent to stay at the beach had that exact same fabric and that exact same color on the couches of the living room of these apartments. And it's like, it takes me back to 1984. But hey, look. Whatever. Thankfully she's out of it by the time we actually hit the rink.
Yes.
she's in a particularly uncomfortable, weird-looking Canadian tuxedo. But hey, whatevs. That's they've kind of got to do that a bit.
I honestly didn't even notice what she was wearing in that part of it. I was just glad that she wasn't wearing the army green vinyl or anything.
Yeah, fair. I feel like this was awkward as fuck. Like, they sort of put together the hockey lingo, the cloches and the thing. Well, at first when they're like, oh, it's hockey Canada, cold, hockey cold, Canada cold, dish cold. I'm like, that's actually cool. That's a cool challenge.
Oh, but the hockey terminology was weird.
No, that's what fucked it for them. Not fucked it, but I mean, it was still a good challenge. But like, if you had just said you have to do something that's served cold, you can kind of do whatever you want. It's like, it's hard to balance cold dishes. Cold dishes are sneakier than you think.
Especially if you're trying to do like a biscuit or a muffin into a cold dish. Those, I think, were the two worst ones to get.
It was just so particularly unbalanced. Like, cold biscuit, cold apple, cold muffin, cold eggs, cold grapefruit, cold licorice knob.
Yeah, that was weird.
What? Licorice knob? But, so yeah, like, the problem is you had no way of knowing it. It's like a curveball that you were sort of expected to choose for yourself, which was kind of shit. Like, and even, some were softballs. And some were totally bizarre, like muffins. Yeah, I get it. Oh, shot, that should have been stopped. You're tossing a muffin at me. Right. Okay, muffin. It'd be fine if it wasn't, but you have to make it cold because that's just like the worst.
Well, okay, so they get these weird things that they have to make, and they go to Whole Foods for their shop, and Massimo and Zubair both bought muffins. Normally, if you're buying something store-bought, the judges are like, yeah.
So what would you have chosen? Well, what slosh would you have stood behind without knowing that they were?
I have no idea what I would have chosen. Yeah, maybe whichever one they thought was going to be something round, and it ended up being eggs.
Yeah, the game that ends in 0 sounds to me. I also thought, goose eggs.
Yeah,
I was like, fuck, they're going to give us goose eggs, but it wasn't. It was just regular eggs. So
there were. I think there were like quail eggs in the bowl as well. Yeah, it was just eggs, not that they would necessarily use quail eggs, but I mean, they could have, so.
But yeah, tape, see, I might have stood behind the tape wrapped on a stick.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, I would gravitate to that, I think, for some reason. And they go through all of the others, right? They're like, a puck is a biscuit, obviously, because it looks like a puck. An assist is an apple. Hey, nice apple. And she explains each one. Yeah. And you're like, the shot that should have been stopped. Oh, you're chucking muffins at me. Goose eggs for the zeros. That's the thing. Grapefruit, tenuous, but okay, I get it. It's such a easy shot. It's a grapefruit. It's twice the size of a puck. Hanging shot in the net, top shelf where mama keeps the peanut butter. Okay, I get it. It's, again, tenuous. But then they're like, tape wrapped around a stick, licorice knob, keep going.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of felt bad for the people who got licorice knob, but I mean, obviously it worked out for Katiana.
Yes, for sure. But like, again, not to be like an apple. What can you cook with an apple? 1,000 different things. What can you cook with eggs? Literally everything. Muffin, okay, a harder challenge, but again, you could do a muffin thing. Biscuit, Vinny did it. He did a weird job, but licorice, you can't like hide licorice. It only goes with a certain narrow number of things. That's the hardest choice.
Yeah, absolutely. That is the most difficult one. And then muffins and biscuits are kind of tied, I think.
So what would you have chosen? Well, what slosh would you have stood behind without knowing that they were?
I have no idea what I would have chosen. Yeah, maybe whichever one they thought was going to be something round, and it ended up being eggs. Yeah,
the game that ends in 0 sounds to me. I also thought, goose eggs. Yeah, it's like, fuck, they're going to give us goose eggs, but it wasn't. It was just regular eggs. So,
there were. I think there were like quail eggs in the bowl as well. Yeah, it was just eggs. Not that they would necessarily use quail eggs, but I mean, they could have. So.
But now tape, see, I might have stood behind the tape wrapped on the stick.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, I would gravitate to that, I think, for some reason. And they go through all of the others, right? They're like, a puck is a biscuit, obviously, because it looks like a puck. An assist is an apple. Hey, nice apple. And she explains each one. Yeah. You're like, the shot that should have been stopped. Oh, you're chucking muffins at me. Goose eggs for the zeros. That's the thing. Grapefruit, tenuous, but okay, I get it. It's such a easy shot. It's a grapefruit. It's twice the size of a puck. hanging shot in the net, top shelf where mama keeps the peanut butter. Okay, I get it. It's, again, tenuous. But then they're like, tape wrapped around a stick, licorice knob, keep going.
Yeah, I don't know. I
Why?
kind of felt bad for the people who got licorice knob, but I mean, obviously it worked out for Katiana.
Yes, for sure. But like, again, not to be like an apple. What can you cook with an apple? 1,000 different things. What can you cook with eggs? Literally everything. Muffin, okay, a harder challenge, but again, what you could do a muffin thing. Biscuit, then he did it. He did a weird job, but that. But licorice, you can't like hide licorice. It only goes with a certain narrow number of things. That's the hardest choice.
Yeah, absolutely. That is the most difficult one. And then muffins and biscuits are kind of tied, I think.
And just to do a thing, like I was thinking about this. I love the way they finish this off. I love the way they go through the thing and they have everybody out there all at once and they don't do that. We need to see Shuai, Katiana and Steve. And then they like, you guys won. And it's sort of like, there's more of a surprise element. I can see how that's good and bad. But I do miss that like moment of, are we in trouble or are we the good kids kind of thing. All right. Well,
hang on real quick.
Yep.
I lost the tab that had my note.
Better find that, mate.
Yeah. It's this one. Yeah, I'm good whenever you are.
Sorry, I just texting my mate back. Right. Yeah, so did you like this challenge? What do you reckon? Like, not from the cooking perspective. Like, okay, we get through. This is always the thing with Top Chef challenges, right? Like, you come up with the whole, this is the premise, this is the challenge, like, this is lame, or this is clever, this is cool, yeah, whatever.
I understand why they did a hockey challenge. I mean, it's Canada. I didn't really love the challenge just because, yeah, the terminology is so weird. Yeah, I don't know exactly what I would have done just because, yeah, the terminology was so weird. But yeah, I think game ending in 0 and then having it be eggs, eggs you can do a lot of things with.
Cold egg dishes. No one made a custard. Well, I mean, a couple of people made a custard intending it to be ice cream.
Creme anglaise.
Yeah, sure. But like, no one made a custard. No one made like a cold tart or something like that. Like, that's a surprise.
Yeah, like a zabaglione or, there are so many things that you could do with eggs.
I did like Schweiz, if you can't make an ice cream, make a semifreddo. So of the top 3, we had Tristan, Corwin and Katiana, which is a nice little redemption for Corwin after his mediocre Jamaican extravaganza. But of these 3, obviously, with Katiana gets the win, I had a few thoughts about this and about why. I also really like the sound of Tristan's tartare with the potato chips.
That sounded fantastic.
The Benedict aioli, the shattered Benedict aioli, that's like, fucking give me that. Egg yolk jam, deviled eggs, plus the chips. The whole thing just gave me fancy Sydney cafe meal. Like, it was fun and clever. I bet you it was tasty as fuck.
Well, I love that he took the deviled egg mixture and used the liquid nitrogen and shattered it. And such a great idea.
To be fair, so easy to fuck up. Could have gone so wrong.
I guess it could have.
Didn't.
Yeah.
Same Corwin, his scallop and apple agua chile. It sort of seems really simple, but that's the thing. It's like, if you get that right, it's modern and clean and spicy, inventive. Mm-hmm. Like, I think someone said that it was fresh, and I think it was Gail who said this. It was fresh and clear in its flavor and vision. Sick. That's great.
Yeah, absolutely.
The editor guy said it was a restaurant-ready dish. I'm like, okay, cool. Yes. It looked like that. It sounds like that. I'm sure I've had this sort of thing on a menu, like a scallop crudo with some sort of fruit and a leche de tigre or a agua chile or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the judges seemed to love Corwin's dish. They didn't look at all impressed by Vinny's biscuit strawberry thing.
What do you think about how she did the licorice thing? The chicken and licorice soba with daikon. I love that she does the cold noodles. It definitely works for her because she's gotten the raw licorice root. And I've never fucked her. I don't know what to do with that. She got the candy and the Pernod. I've definitely messed around with Pernod before. I was worried that she might get the edit flip, where she's like, oh, it's like really hard to build up the licorice flavor. And then they let it steep overnight and it's like, I'm fucked. Now everything just tastes like a licorice black jelly bean.
Yeah. I was concerned about that too, but I guess if that happened, it wouldn't be too difficult to just, grab another box of chicken broth and figure out some other way.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I love when Kristen Kish is eating it, she says this dish is intentionally cold. Like it works.
Yeah.
It's not a cold version of a different thing. It's like this is designed cold.
Yes.
And you know what I think it is? They're like, what? How is there so much flavor in this broth over time and for it to be cold? You know what it is? It's the daikon. The daikon. Yeah. I have made not a version of this, but there's like a simmered daikon where you like simmer it in a really light soy sauce and dashi sort of broth. And the daikon just gives it this sort of lovely woody thickness that it actually stands out better when it's cold. The daikon has a certain bitterness when it gets warm, but when it's cold, it's not there. And I think that's what it's the daikon in this that really sets it over the edge.
All right. I've not worked with daikon a lot.
I love it. Yeah, I love it.
I definitely use it when I'm doing like a banh mi.
Of course.
But other than that, I haven't really done a whole lot with it.
Yeah, I've always really liked it for some reason, and I've fucked with it a lot. But it is a great little ingredient. It doesn't taste like much, and it can really add to it. I love that she gets the glow up. I like I said, been a fan of hers for the 3 episodes. I see a lot of promise in Katiana, and I don't think she's lived up to it up till now, or at least it hasn't worked out for her up till now. And so it's nice to see the glow up. It's nice to see that she's like, I made it from scratch. I made it up. Like this isn't a dish that I had. I just was like, okay. So,
because who's ever worked with licorice knob before?
Right. So, yeah. And I think Cesar does a good job on the licorice knob with the shrimp noodles and the other things. Obviously, oh no, you didn't like it.
The sound of it, just the thought of a shrimp noodle sounds really, really weird to me.
Interesting. Like, is it the taste or the texture that?
I used to love shrimp, and over the last few years, I just really don't care for it anymore. It's become the texture has become a problem for me. I don't know why, because I've eaten it my whole life and loved it, and then just over the last few years, I'm like, yeah, not really. It's a weird texture when you bite into it.
It's funny. I kind of agree with you. You used to just we call them prawns. The throw another shrimp on the barbie, total misappropriation. We do not say that. We do not say that. We do not say shrimp, and you don't put shrimp on the barbie anyway. You usually just blanch them until they're cooked and then peel them as you eat them.
Well, being from Baltimore, we eat a lot of steamed shrimp.
You'll do a
covered,
shrimp, right?
No, not a shrimp boil. We do steamed shrimp covered in Old Bay seasoning.
Righto.
And so that's something that I've eaten my whole life. And then, just over the last few years, every now and then I'll if somebody brings shrimp to like a potluck situation, I'll grab one, maybe 2. But for the most part, I'm just like, no, I don't really care for shrimp anymore. I don't know why.
I don't order it on the menu. Kind of maybe I'm in the same boat a little bit. I'm like, I need to know that they're like exceptionally good quality crustaceans in order to want them. So that's interesting. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I consider, I mean, the shrimp noodle, it is going to have a particular like texture to it. But again, I like him. I like Cesar, but I feel like almost his edit was that he was the support foil for Katiana. He was the other guy doing aniseed. And so, but as far as it goes, who do we have on the bottom? Anya, yep, Massimo, and who was it? Paula. So in order, Anya, obviously. Poor thing.
I was not at all surprised. Now, I will say that when she served her dish, the soft serve pine needle ice cream on top of pine needle crumble, the beet powder thing, and the sea buckhorn cake, I would not have called it a cake. I would have called it a cookie because
it clanked.
Yeah,
even absolutely. I don't know if they edited the sound effect in, but when she puts it down on the fucking plate and it goes clank.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not just a dense cake. That is a fucking cookie at that point. I would have said cookie and creme anglaise instead of ice cream, and that still wouldn't have helped her though, because the judges were like, it's got no flavor. It doesn't taste good.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think she's really accentuating the egginess of it.
That's another thing. There's nothing that's obviously egg.
Custard and cake needs eggs to work. And so, yes, technically that's true. But I would want it to be more egg forward, I think. Also, the other Canadian girl, the other hockey girl, says, oh, yeah, it's giving Canada frozen pond and maple leaves. I'm like, I didn't see that. I just saw a sloppy dog's breakfast. But she's trapped in the edit from hell too. Like, it's right from the beginning of arguably the day, but certainly from the beginning of the elimination challenge. Yeah, she's, they set it up bad for her. The ice cream and the cake are bad. And then she's like, I'll just do them again. And the new ice cream's too soft instead of too hard. And the new cake's too hard. So
yeah. I mean, have you ever watched Top Chef before? You know that the ice cream machines never fucking work proper. It's really hard to make a proper ice cream on Top Chef. They almost always have trouble with it.
Because a proper ice cream in one of those chilled mixing bowl type things, that thing has to be perfectly cold. You have to take it out of the freezer and put your thing in it. You can't let it sit around to warm up. Like, there's so many things, studio lighting, everything is working against you to make that kind of ice cream. Of course, they do school Massimo for the same reason on how to do it with liquid nitrogen, which he sort of has a attempt at.
He was not able to make it with liquid nitrogen.
But I think for Anya, the thing that fucks her is the buckthorn. She's trying to make the sea buckthorn thing and like whatever, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, just wrecks the cake. It wrecks the texture of the cake.
Well, and Tom, that was so smart. It didn't occur to me until Tom said, it probably has anti-caking agents, cornstarch or something like that, which baking is very specific and scientific. And she even said, she was like, I'm not measuring things. I'm just throwing things in, trying to make this work. You're never going to,
make a cake that way.
Exactly. That's not how baking works. And yeah, every little thing that goes into a batter can affect, how it turns out. So she was screwed from the beginning.
Yep. Screwed from the beginning. Her story was one of failure. Massimo knows the same thing. I mean, I feel like he tried in his way to do like this muffin, that muffin, a tribute to muffins, and the way he
certainly tried harder than Zubair did.
Mate, an order of magnitude, polar opposites. It's kind of goofy in like a way, but that's kind of him in a way too, which is like, all right, fine. I feel like if he had made a nice ice cream and it had all gone together on the plate, it wouldn't have been a bottom dish. It would have been a mid dish.
Agreed.
But he fails on the ice cream. He falls on his sword at judge's table. He's like straight up. He's like, it was bad, blah, blah, blah. I'm like this. And Tom's like,
he is so fucking funny.
Yeah, you're doing my job for me, okay?
Yeah, Tom said something like, I love this. This is great. We don't even have to say anything. And the whole room was kind of like giggling when he was like, yeah, I've never had performance issues before.
Yeah. So, again, it's like I don't feel bad for him. He had a go. He just made a mistake. I still can't decide. Okay, so he's a likable character. I can't decide if I love his cuisine yet, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't think we've seen enough from him really.
Mm-hmm. At least nothing particularly creative yet. Like,
he hasn't been able to do his food.
Sure. Okay. Yep. Now rounding out the losers circle, Paula, who I don't think she was surprised to be there. Like Massimo, he knew he was there. Anya, she knew she was there. They both knew that they were going to judges' table for a potential elimination because they fucked their dishes. Paula seems oblivious to that fact. Ceviche hippie hopper?
I guess she really felt strongly that what she made was on brief and she made it the way it's made in Ecuador. But yeah, it was a lot of broth to the amount of fish.
Sable fish too, which is a really bland fish. And Tom even says he's like the fish is in the season.
He said it was bland. It needs salt.
Yeah.
And not enough peanut flavor in the broth.
Right. Which I hate peanut flavored things. I hate peanut flavored broth. I don't want a peanut soup. I don't want a peanut broth. Like maybe a satay, maybe peanuts in a curry, something like that for sure. Peanut in a dessert for sure. But like the peanut soup, it's just, I know some people love it. It doesn't grab me.
I've never had peanut soup, but I was actually looking at recipes this morning, things that I'm going to make this week. One of the things is like a chopped salad that's got like a peanut dressing, and
sure,
that sounds great.
Yeah, like a peanut fried garlic and fish sauce vinaigrette type affair on a type.
Was it a lime juice in there? Yeah.
Fuck off, that's good.
Yes.
But peanut broth. I don't know. Anyway, but
Have you ever had the glass bottle of Coke and you put peanuts in it?
no,
You've never heard of that?
no, no,
That's a Southern thing.
no.
They put peanuts in the bottle of Coke and drink the Coke and eat the peanuts.
Okay, why? Why?
I don't know.
Do you do this, or is this like I've seen it but won't do it?
I've seen it. I've never done it, but yeah, I've seen it a lot, and I'm like, what? That doesn't do it. I don't want to do that.
I feel like the only thing that should go in a Coke, especially like a classic Mexican Coke, is vanilla or bourbon.
I'm with you on both of those, and I don't drink soda.
I do, but yeah, not with peanuts in it.
I pretty much drink
fucking peanuts in it.
Yeah, no, I pretty much just drink water all day, so I don't do soda because I've gotten to the point with it now that if I try to drink it, I'm like, so sweet.
Well, there's the problem. If you drink actual soda, you get diabetes by the end of the week, and if you drink diet soda, you get cancer by the end of the week.
I hate diet anything. I can't. Ugh. As long as you're happy, I'm not.
Thanks, mate.
You do you.
Yeah, thanks for giving me permission to live my lifestyle. Oh no, that's it.
You do you.
Yeah. Right, back to the Top Chef. You never see again. It's kind of the same thing, and they say it in the judging. Paula, she was the next worst dish of the lot.
Yeah,
but again, it wasn't. It doesn't sound like it was even that bad. She is going home.
Yeah, she's not going to go much further
unless she has the full. Every now and then you have that Top Chef like turnaround where they're like on the bottom until episode 5 and then they just work up. But I don't see that happening there. She's surprised. She's surprised every time she's on the bottom. She's surprised every time she's not winning. And she's
been on the bottom a bit. One thing I want to say about Massimo, when they went into the stew room to wait to see who was going to be voted off, immediately congratulated the top 3. He's just making me love him more and more all the time.
And I guess it's one of those things where if you're going to be a fucking loudmouth, be that guy.
Be a positive loudmouth.
Yeah, be that guy. Do we talk about Zubair, King Salmon? Okay, let me just read the way this got sold. King Salmon crudo with fennel jalapeno achar, lemongrass gel, buttermilk chass, and a muffin crumble. If I saw that, maybe minus the crumble, on a fucking menu, I would consider ordering that for sure. Sounds fantastic, but it is just like, this is a dish I like to make. Muffins on the top.
Yeah, exactly. He did not really put a whole lot of thought into working with the muffin. He's like, fuck it, I've got immunity. This is a stupid ingredient that I have to use. I'll just put it on top of something I already make.
Right. So he loses a point or two in my estimation for that. Again, obviously talented, obviously good. So I don't think he's maybe hit his stride yet. I think when he gets a genuinely creative challenge, that's when we'll see, is he the genuinely creative person that they're sort of pitching him as.
Yeah. When they have an opportunity to make their food their way, is he going to do something new, or is he going to be like, I've been waiting to pull this recipe out,
Yeah. This is on the menu in 3 of my restaurants. Yeah, which I've already last week. Minute to talk about Vinny. I like Vinny. He's obviously a good cook. He just makes a boring mid-level dish. Is the bottom line.
Yeah, with his boring dad joke puns.
Same with Lana. If there's anyone left for me that's like a bit of a disappointment, it's her. Like, she's obviously winning points sartorially. She's the most stylish of all of the chef testants.
Mm-hmm.
She is articulate. She's cool. She's got great energy. She's made a few dishes that are just, in fact, to be honest, everything that she's made for me so far has been uninspiring and a bit mid.
They really liked her dish this time, though. She just wasn't. There were 3 that were better than her. Some of the people were like, "Oh, I've never had pickled shrimp," so that was new for me. They liked it. They felt that it was a very elegant dish. So it's just that there were 3 dishes that were better than hers.
Yeah. Same. I feel like Shuai, to be honest, I feel like Shuai and Kat both end up getting the back end of, like you said, that same thing, like 3 really good dishes that come up to the top. Because I feel like the funky semi-freddo that he made is it sounded interesting, it sounded cool, it sounded good. It still came out a little soft, but unfortunately it lands in the meat. And
yes,
I feel like other episodes of the show, he might have, other seasons, other episodes with that semi-freddo, it might have been a standout. So and again, same for Kat. She had a terrible, terrible quick fire and then turns it around with the grapefruit scallop tartare.
And it looked really cool.
It looked beautiful. Yeah, it looked really beautiful. It's like she's giving it like a mezcal paloma sort of touch, which is nice.
I enjoy a paloma too, so I was like, okay, I'll go with that.
Right. And Henry, I love the charred avocado. I think that's one of those things. But obviously, again, it went too many flavors on the plate. He ends up a bit muddled. So yeah, like again, I'm not worried that I like him. I think he's got some interesting. I feel like he's got some interesting approach to some stuff. I think of all of the people in the show, I feel like Henry might be the one who he's almost got that idiot savant. I'm winging it, successful. I didn't prepare. Like I'm just doing stuff sort of vibe, and that's great because it's obviously working for him. But could end up with a couple of pretty bad clangers.
I wonder if he was almost like a Nepo situation. They're like, oh, well, you're Evelyn's partner, so we'll put you on the show.
Because we know you're not going to be shit. We know you've got the Top Chef lineage. We know we've got plenty of stuff we can talk about with you. So yeah. But you might make a mistake in the third episode or fourth episode and end up going home. So yeah. Same with Shuai. I think Shuai is a very different. Would be easy to go, the two Asian guys, so they're kind of the same. And while there's some like similarities between them, I think Shuai is completely different. He seems much more considered.
Oh yeah, I definitely think Shuai is a talented chef.
Anya goes home. Bye-bye.
Last Chance Kitchen.
Katiana wins the double. So she
wins the episode.
Yeah, she wins. She takes the whole sweep of the episode. She's rocking excelente. I think she deserved it. I think she's got so much filler in her face that it was hard for her to really crack a smile. But
I wasn't going to say anything because I don't like to focus on people's looks. No. But I think that maybe there's some plumping on those lips.
Sure. And a lot of Botox in the forehead. Or she could just be naturally emotionless. It's hard to say. Yeah, hard to say. Again, she's a beautiful girl. Not trying to say anything about anything or ever criticize anyone's lifestyle choices, but dang, that's a hard smile. But I think she deserves it. I like that her food has bubbled up to the top. That's great.
Yes.
For me, on the bottom, I would put Kat on the bottom. I will put Massimo on the bottom. Even like if I had to say my bottom two or bottom three, I would say Paula, Massimo, and Kat. As much as I really like Massimo, I have a feeling that he might be a interesting character that scrapes his way through half the show and then not gets exposed, but gets exposed as he's funny, he's interesting, he's pretty good, but not good enough.
I think that Vinny's not going to make it too far.
Interesting. Okay. Same thing. You think he'll make a mistake, like he'll give me the rundown.
I don't know. I don't think that he's got, from what we've seen, based on the edit that we've been able to see, I don't think that he's got a lot of personality. And I think that translates to the food.
I'm not going to argue with you. Yeah, I'm not going to argue with that. I have a feeling the reason I didn't put him in that list of bottom three is because I feel like he's got the training chops to come through. I'm not saying he's going to win, but I think he'll outlast Massimo, Paula, and Kat.
Yeah, I mean, he might have the technique, but besides just knowing how to do things, you have to also have the creative part of it.
So, I think we're agreed about Paula. She's got not got enough. Cesar, talk to me about Cesar. He's kind of an under the radar guy so far. He's tried some things, niffed him a bit, but also he's tried some interesting things.
Yeah, I'm not sure how far he's going to go.
It seems like he can't get anything together.
Yeah, he's just not, I don't know. He's not shining.
But on the other hand, I got to piss again. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. It's like, I don't know what it is. Oh, it's because Adrento won't coughing. So I wonder if we should do this part. I might edit this part for after the Larsen's Kitchen section, but who's on your, so we got, okay. For me, I could see any one of Paula, Massimo. I could see Paula, Massimo, maybe Vinny going home in the next, episode. I can definitely see Kat going home in the next episode. I could see Henry making a mistake and going home. Like I said, I think Shuai is good. I think Lana's good. While I'm a little bit surprised that she hasn't really blossomed yet, she hasn't made any mistakes. For me, is there anyone, are you like behind anyone at this point? Are you like, I love this chef and I want them to win?
I mean, Massimo, just for his personality.
He's cool.
Yeah, I'm just really loving him. I think Tristan is really good. I'm definitely behind, I would say Tristan, Chwai, and I don't know who I would pick for a third, but definitely Tristan and Chwai.
You think they've got the legs? Yep, I fully agree with that.
I think either one of them could take the whole thing.
I feel like Zubair could, but I have a feeling that he'll get tripped by perhaps by his own cleverness.
Agreed. I think that he is a talented chef, but I don't know if this platform is going to bring out all the best in him.
I agreed. I fully agree. So we'll see. Yeah, it's obviously it's the third episode, so it's anyone's game. It's open, but this is the sort of point I feel like from the next episode and onwards, that's when you get like the Top Chef churn, where it starts to feel like the funnel's getting steeper and steeper and steeper because it is as you go down. But cool. I guess that puts us to Last Chance Kitchen, and what the fuck is that? Like boring Canadian, just like halfway through the fucking challenge explanation, it's like, well, there's something I have to say. Actually, I don't want to play the game anymore. I'm going home. Fuck, man. Can you imagine Ying sitting there fucking cursing at him, going, I could be there. Ying could be there.
So I respect it simply because, I've spoken in another episode about Kalina taking herself out last season. I wonder if that has any bearing on Sam's decision. I wonder if he might not have taken himself out if Kalina hadn't already done that in the last season.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you think that was a preempt?
I'm just, nobody's ever done that before until Kalina did. So I wonder if that had anything to do with his decision to go, you know what, this isn't for me. I'm going to speak up and say something. It's not like I'm the first person to bow out. And, if that's what you have to do for your mental health, then I'm behind you for that. I do think that, I guess a lot of chefs kind of underestimate how hard this really is. We're sitting here on our couches going, oh, I would make this and I would make that. And this is a fun challenge. This is a dumb challenge, whatever. But we're not there in the kitchen.
No.
The chefs are always saying, this is harder than it looks, this is very difficult.
The other thing that you don't think about, and it's probably different for the chefs, the top chefs, as it is for the Last Chance Kitchens. At least the top chefs, they have probably got plenty to do. Like they're probably kept relatively busy, at least during the filming. They sort of film for 2 days and then they take a break for a bit. And then they film for 2 days and they take a break for a bit, or film for 3 days and take a break for a bit. Last Chance Kitchen, those cunts must be sitting around doing absolutely nothing for most of the time.
And they're sequestered.
Yes.
Yeah. No TV, no internet. What do you do? And I don't think that
you overthink your failure.
I don't think that the chefs on the main show have a whole lot of days off. I think that they film for a couple of days and then all of a sudden we're seeing it as next week, but they're seeing it as tomorrow. I don't think they get a whole lot of downtime.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, you're right. Last Chance Kitchen, they're like, okay, we've got 2 days until the next person shows up. I can't call anybody. I can't surf the internet. I can't watch the news. That would be a little bit boring. But he was kind of a boring guy.
He was boring as fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. He just, and I get, it's so weird. It's just so weird. He's like, oh, I'm not really the most Canadian of Canadians, and then I don't want to do it anymore.
Well, and he did that right after Tom had said, introduced him to Anya and said, Sam's been impressing me. And then he's like, yeah, I don't want to play. So whatever. But let's talk about the hat trick. I think that this was such a fuck you to the guy from last season who got voted out first. Because he said to Tom, something about his hat
game.
Yep. Yeah. And then he wasn't even in Last Chance Kitchen because he was not allowed to participate.
Because of the hat game.
Yeah. So I love that they rolled that thing out and it's Tom in all of these different hats. And Tom says, as you can see, I'm a big fan of hats. Fucking brilliant.
I love that. Yeah. No, I admit that went straight over the top of my head, mate. I'm glad you're here keeping an eye on then Tom's hat game for us all. But yeah.
It's a very disappointing challenge between both Anya and Bailey. Disappointed me.
Yeah. I mean, it seemed like a weird challenge. It seemed like another weird disjointed challenge. Again, last year's kitchen must be a fucking nightmare. Like, it's not like you're sort of, the whole focus is just to win. There's no like creativity or development or anything. It's just beat the other person so you can keep going back in the show.
There is creativity in it because they're like, okay, you've got a half an hour to make something. And then you don't have time to think. You don't have time to overthink, So you just gotta cook. And this time, 45 minutes, make me at least 3 good things. And I was disappointed when Bailey was like, I'm going to start by making a tomato salad. It's fucking boring. Do I love a tomato salad? Abso-fucking-lutely. If it's the middle of summer and I'm getting heirloom tomatoes from the farmer's market, I love a tomato salad.
Yeah, but are you peeling them? Are you like scoring them and blanching them and peeling the skins off them and doing them that way? Like, that's the tomato salad I'm talking about. Like, that takes more than 45 minutes to make just the salad.
Oh no, I'm thinking more like panzanella. Or I don't know if you guys do this in Texas, but a tomato sandwich
where you just take white bread and tomato slices.
White bread.
This is not a Czech thing, but I'll fuck with that from my Australia. We would do that in Oz, just like a regular old white bread.
Yeah.
With an alien tomato slice, salt and pepper. Fuck yeah.
And for me, it's got to be Duke's mayonnaise.
Duke's mayonnaise, yes.
Mayonnaise.
We are a Duke's household here.
Awesome.
In our house. What's the other one? There's like a Kraft and a Hellmann's.
Yeah. I mean, I was Hellmann's growing up, but I also didn't really like mayonnaise growing up.
Interesting.
It's just that's what my dad and my brother, my dad he doesn't even fucking like mayonnaise unless it's just a little tiny bit in a tuna salad. But yeah, my mom and my brother liked Hellmann's.
Yeah, we definitely do. We definitely do juice. So, all right, where are we then? So that's it. And his last dish. Tom says, this is terrible. And she goes.
Yep, raw fish, terrible last dish. She's gone.
Back to Russia, you commie dog.
Oh,
is that too strong? Okay.
I think that this was just like, I don't know. I think that Bailey was boring in this episode of Last Chance Kitchen. She kind of won by default. Sam took himself out. Anya was terrible. So, okay, Bailey gets the fucking win.
Which I'm okay with because for some reason, I think she's a better Last Chance Kitchen character than Anya.
Oh, yeah. And then Sam.
Who?
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, cool. Again, no surprises for me from this episode. Like, Anya goes home. The only surprise for me is how many people on Reddit, online, in articles, whatever, saying, oh, she was so versatile. She's so rich. She had so much going for her. I'm going to miss her. She was like really interesting and innovative and like she really brought something different to the kitchen. I
do like that as Anya is doing her, little goodbye confessional. She said that she felt like she was a drop in the bucket of hope and positivity. And I love that.
That was really bleak.
Really?
Yeah, because she's only a drop in the bucket. She's like it's a drop in the bucket, which usually to me means like it's not good enough. It's not big enough.
We're all just a drop in the bucket, each one of us.
True. That is true. Fair. But yeah, so she's in the crowd now. What do we expect from the next episode? I can't even remember what's. I didn't even look at I didn't really pay attention to the.
I didn't pay much attention. The only other thing I really want to say is the hockey rink. That was a fucking stupid idea.
A weird little mini hockey rink in the kitchen?
Yeah.
I thought it was cute.
Can you imagine being a server and having to fucking walk on ice?
Slip around? Yeah.
Yeah, that was dumb.
Seemed like a silly little gimmick, I suppose. Yep.
Yeah.
I have to also say, like, it feels like I just could not give a fuck about Canada. When we've front-loaded all of the Canada. Like, when you're in Texas, you're like, there's a barbecue challenge coming. When you're in Wisconsin, something's happening with cheese. Like, and then you can kind of build it all up and it's like this. But like now I feel like the challenges are going to get increasingly more like, well, so what we're going to do is we're going to make you stand behind cloches with hockey lingo and someone's going to get a licorice knob.
Well, and I would think that there might be a skiing challenge, but they already did the fucking skiing challenge where Beverly...
That was so bad. So
dumb.
Yeah.
It was so dumb.
Cool. Well, yeah. Like I said, this was nice. I must admit, I wasn't as like jazzed for this episode as the previous one. I thought episode 2 was just great. This was a little bit more straightforward in the challenges were a bit weird, but the dishes that came out of it made sense, sort of. The ones that won made sense and the ones that lost made sense. The ones in the middle were like, what? But
some of the ones in the middle made a lot of sense. Like I said, there were just 3 better dishes than some,
But overall, again, the standard of cooking, the standard of creativity, the standard of character, all 3 of those things, the people seem like they're nice people or at least interesting people. The food they're cooking is interesting food, and the show overall has like a good pace and a good edit. It doesn't feel like they're reaching through the B-roll to find good content.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of good content. And yeah, I'm still really jazzed about this season.
Right. Despite the Canada thing, despite me saying I don't understand why we're in Canada, and I'm going to say it every time, it's a good season. This is the redemption from last season for me. I'm loving it. So we'll see who's next. Low-key, I want Katiana to win because she's got the adoption story. She's got the Asian fusion. I think this could be the beginning of her glow up, but it could also be the beginning of her and she goes out in episode 5.
I don't know. I hope not. I think that she's got a lot to show us.
That said, I predict right now, my prediction is a final between Shuai and someone else. I don't know who yet.
I'd like to see Shuai and Tristan.
Shuai and Tristan. Okay, that is not an unacceptable option for me. Yes, I think both of those 2 lads could end their way through to the final.
Yeah, and this week Tristan really impressed me.
Agreed.
It was a fucking great idea.
Yeah, and it's sort of like the oxtail tartlet thing, not oxtail tartlet, the tart that he did, the beef and
the after school
cheese tart that he did. I didn't get quite the reco that it should have, but obviously he comes through in the final, and we like that. So
yeah. Well, and one more thing about Tristan's, he when he immediately said deviled egg, I have seen people do deviled eggs on the show in the past. I've seen people do a deviled egg and had the judges go, "It's a fucking deviled egg. Did you really think you were going to win with that?"
Yeah,
I love that. I love that.
I'd rather just have a fucking soft-boiled egg. Like I don't see.
I do love a soft-boiled egg too.
It's too much. The deviled egg, it's too much effort for the result.
Agree to disagree.
No, again, I've had this disagreement with all sorts of people, especially here, and they're like, "No, I love deviled eggs. They're amazing."
Yeah, but I mean, like I was saying, I've seen them do deviled eggs and had the judges go, "It's a fucking deviled egg. You're not going to win with that." And then I've seen people do deviled eggs and had the judges go, "Oh my God, that was amazing. That was delicious." And I'm like, it's just weird that, they can dislike it in one season and then like it in another. And so for Tristan to say deviled egg, here's how I'm going to do it. It was brilliant. It was just a really fucking great idea.
Yeah, I agree. Conceptually, and they even give him like a fun edit where it's like, "Oh, I could make this. I could make a boiled egg. I could make a fried egg. They're all hot."
Those are all hot. Yeah.
So, yeah, agree. Cool. That is about it for me.
Well, time is up. Hands up, utensils down.
Okay. Hey. All right, Scallops. Well, hope you had as much fun as we did. We will see you next week for episode 4.
Bye, Scallops.
Bye, Scallops. All right. Sick, mate. This is great.